Welcome to the 5th week, I think, of the semester for Rationalism 2023. We have moved our main campus session also to online so we can have a bit more close discussion and keep records of them. I think generally we find it more convenient to use the session. If we need to go in person, we will do that. You'll see that I'm sharing currently my Sakai site to show you what I'm seeing. So the number of students registered so far into the course, at least who registered, if they are still here, then that is fine, at 280. If we set a managed group site, if our groups were maximum of 20 each, for a group of 280, for a class of 280, then we are expecting that in each group will have, okay, so these are 20. Some of the groups were not full, so that's understandable. For instance, you didn't have to be in one group alone because there are quite a number. What is happening? Okay, well, okay, so that is what we have here. So I don't understand how it is that some were saying that the groups were full. How did the groups become full? We had more than enough because I didn't set the groups at 10 per group. I made it 20. So for 280, that is about 14 groups, I think, that we should have. Am I right? 20 into, no, 20 into 100 would be 5. And another 20 into 100 would be, and after that would be 10 plus maybe 4. So that should be, 14 groups, Am I right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So some people, 12. Okay, some people were not signed up for a group. And so there are no excuses if you didn't take the group work. But you can tell that there's been submissions there. So let's go to an assignment 2 to show you what I see. Okay, so 16 groups have submitted, and I have not checked yet, but we could cross-check for plagiarism, etc., etc. Now, those ones will be private information for you, so I want to be minded from putting it out there in public. Any questions? I see a hand up already. Go ahead with your question. Let me take Rebana first, and I'll take Matthew next. Please unmute and ask your question quickly. Rebana, I'm waiting for you to ask the question. Okay, Matthew, you may unmute and ask then.
Okay, madam. One girl was like, she didn't have the group, so she called the TA, and the TA called me to add her. So I wanted to inquire if that was right or.
Right now that you are telling me that in class, if it is not what I want to do, what does it do, Matthew? When
The
you were
TA said I
called to
should
say
add her.
something. No, but my concern is if you wanted my view about that, you would have asked me, not when I'm in class. Should I say what my TA did was wrong? I
Oh
mean,
no, like
so
not
don't
that bad.
patronize. I don't want the patronage. I don't like that at all. If you genuinely wanted to know what I think of it, you will not finish doing it. And they ask me whether what you did is, I mean, when you were taking off the feathers from the animal or the bird, you would know the type of bird it is before you take off the feathers. And then you bring the animal without the feathers and ask the elderly person, which bird is this? I'm speaking figuratively. So you don't want an opinion from me. And it should be fine for you if you think that is fine. Okay. I won't comment on that. If you genuinely want a comment from me, you would ask me before so that you get that. If not, you think it is okay, and that's why you did it. Then you are now asking me, Matthew. Me, I don't like patronage.
It
If
came
you
the that's
patronize
all.
me. All right. Is there any other question, please, people? All right. So we take off quickly. I've seen a submission by a group, and it is 99% copied. So you want to know what that will mean. At least from my quick scan, I've taken it off air because these are personal people's stuff. But the people that presented that are in big trouble. 99% copied, plagiarized. That's what I see. I will check and find out how it is that has happened and interrogate what the matter could be. If not, then you have scored 0 each. I will even open it to look at the substantive content. If it is 99% copied, you're in trouble. Okay, so that's just by way of feedback. Let's go now to the subject matter. We'll finish with our slides and then we will engage. It's 99% copied. I've opened it. The team will score a 0. So right now, people's heart, if you didn't do independent work, your heart is pounding like something. The others are fairly okay. So now I can look at substance proper. Good. Last week, for your group, last week, we had our session and we continued with the innate knowledge thesis and then the innate concept thesis put together. Though as we progressed, we clarified the extent to which one view would be called innate and when the one will be called innate knowledge and when one will be called innate concept. I want to know if you have any questions with that. I'll walk you through that some few minutes to finish up those sets of slides and then we can engage the topic that led you to the group work. So let me see if you have any questions from there. Is there any question from that topic so far? Okay, so we'll go quickly to, I hope I get the right one. Let me see. Yeah, this will be the other one. Okay, so that is it. Okay, now this is where we got to last week after we looked at the innate knowledge proper. Innate knowledge is there a question? Let's see. Go ahead, Matthew. Your hand is up again.
Yes, please. Okay, so like Doc, I wanted to ask the innate concept and the innate knowledge, like the difference. I don't really get it. The difference between
What did you see in the slides when you read it? I'm on you today, Matthew. Yeah.
One was about concepts. Like let's say when you have knowledge about God existence, it means like a concept that it is inborn.
What does that mean? How would you distinguish? Yes, please. I want to know how you understand the difference. Then I can fill in the gap for you.
That's where my problem is. I don't really get.
But the slides talk about them.
Yes.
Have you looked at the slides, please?
Yes, please.
Don't tell me yes, because then it means your problem is that you don't understand English, Matthew. And I don't believe that is true. Have you seen the slides on that?
Yes, madam.
How can you say yes? You see, are you watching my screen?
Yes, please.
Matthew, look on my screen. Can you see that I'm projecting something?
Yes.
These are slides I've given to you. That's innate concept there. The earlier one appears innate knowledge. So if you have looked at the slides, you have what at least you read from it and be seeking clarification on that. That's why I'm asking, what did you see? How do you understand it? Then I can build on it for you. Do you understand? But if you haven't looked at the slides, it's a different sickness. Who can make a quick distinction in their own way for Matthew to grab, the innate knowledge and innate concept is different? Anyone at all? Do you know the number of people currently signed up for the online session? 75. That includes possibly my tea as well. So 75 people. When we are dealing with 280 people, you don't want to tell me that everybody currently is sharing a gadget or what have you. So you will see what I'll do shortly. Anyway, anyone wants to help Matthew for us? Adama, please try and help distinguish the innate knowledge thesis from innate concept thesis in your own words. Let's see if it will help. Adama. So Aduma is absent, whoever Aduma is. Alberta Mehuno. If you were asked to distinguish innate knowledge from innate concept, Aveta, which one would you choose? Excuse me, how would you do the distinction?
With the innate knowledge concept, with that one, the knowledge is inborn, but the concept is a broad kind of something that maybe an example is God exists. Talking about God exists, it is a concept, whether God exists or not. So that differentiates the innate knowledge from the concept.
I got the concept bit where you gave an example. You say God exists or the concept of God. But which
Yes,
one is
please.
the knowledge? Which one is the knowledge? If you, thank you, Abeta. Anyone else wants to add? Which one is the innate knowledge thesis? What do you know prior to experience? When you say it is a knowledge, compared to when you say it is a concept, they are all innate, they are all inborn, but one is innate knowledge, the other one is innate concept. So Abeta helped us to understand at least the concept, innate concept. She says that's the one you are dealing with ideas or concepts like the existence of God. So the concept of God, the idea of God, some rationalists could presume that you know that concept, the concept of the good, the concept of right, etc. You could have prior knowledge of those before experience, inborn to you. Which one would we call the innate knowledge then? Adoma, you are back. Go ahead.
Madam, please, I'm not absent, so my network was messing up.
No problem.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Now it is working. Suppose you were going for an international interview somewhere to be on the UN with a good package, or you were going to become an ambassador and the interview is online. You won't have this excuse. So let's hope
Madam,
that it
I'm
works.
sorry.
Have that posture. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, please.
Which one is the innate knowledge? I'm not answering. No. That's what if I were answering, come ahead that. Edu dodu. Hollister, stand by. Hollister Ajanu. So dodu, go ahead. Hollister Ajanu. Go ahead. Do you want me to end the session and then we'll continue with the next topic next week? Then you answer your questions on this. I can do that. Hollister, go ahead. Yeah, I can see your microphone now. Go ahead, Hollister. You just muted it again, so unmute this time. Yeah, go ahead. Ajanu Hollister, we are waiting, please. Go ahead. Ali Amadou, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Doc.
Good afternoon, sir. Will you try your hands on how to distinguish? Go ahead.
I want to contribute on
Go ahead.
knowledge.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
For the innate knowledge, I think knowledge that we are born with already at the when God created us.
Which one is the concept? So we know what the concept. So how would you distinguish the one that we call innate knowledge and the one that we call innate concept?
So with
That's
the
his question.
innate concept is about ideas. Whether something exists or not is an idea which can be disputed.
All right. Thank you very much, Ali. Big Boss, what do you make of the contributions your friends have made? Because I've thought that. Right. So I'm not going to repeat. I don't want to encourage that way of learning. Matthew, what do you make of your friend's views about the one that is innate knowledge, then the other one that is innate concept? They are both arguing for rationalism. So they are a rationalist thesis, a rationalist position, but they are not like the intuition deduction. They appeal to innateness, that the thing is already inborn. What is inborn is what makes one different from the other. For the innate concept, you say certain concepts, certain ideas are already known to the person. So far as the person is a rational human being, you already have it as part of your rational nature. You know those concepts, ideas, the idea of God, the idea of justice, the idea of right, piety, the good. These are not necessarily a corpus of knowledge. They are not propositions. They are not claims of knowledge. Okay? They are not claims of knowledge. They are just propositions. When it's concepts, they are not propositions, they are ideas. That's what I intended to say. Okay, so specific terms, concept, ideas. And so we appeal to Plato's world of ideas, world of forms, which says that the true real nature of things are not physical. So the idea of tableness is real, more real than the physical table, because reality for him must not change. It must be fixed, must be eternal, etc., etc. Must be outside of space and time, transcendent, must be simple, not complex. So he uses his two worlds to show you that reality is what? Concept. The concept of things, the idea of things is the real, not a particular representation of it. That should tell you that he held on to some form of what? Innate concept thesis. But then we also studied that, and we will rush through and we'll brush through and make sure we have filled every gap before we go to today's discussions on the group work that you did. Okay. Apart from the innate concept, so concept are ideas, Matthew. Okay. Ideas don't have to, when I say ideas, and the idea of good, I think of them as terms, not statements, not propositions, not a corpus. A corpus means a collection of, claims. So the one that talks about knowledge, propositions, something that can be true or false. I know that I will be this. That's why I used the Jesus example extensively previously. Those who believe in reincarnation, those who believe in life after death, karma, and all those things, they believe that they know what they will become. They've just forgotten. You can see that also with Plato. A little apart from the concept, there is knowledge also of something that will happen or what I will become, or you can impugn to him knowledge of pre-existence before coming to the existence. Just that he might defend his view and say, I didn't say you will know the corpus of knowledge. I only said you can have concepts of God, the concept of a table, that's the idea of a table as the reality, right? But even if you don't say Plato was an innate knowledge, thesis subscriber, you can still find other belief systems that subscribe to that. And that is why I use the Jesus example. Okay. He knew who would betray him. He knew his time was up. Referring to Jesus now, it's knowledge, not just an idea. He had a full corpus. He knew that he would be crucified. He knew he would be betrayed. He knew that he doesn't have to waste time with marriage and what have you, because he wouldn't stay long. He knew he would die young. He knew all. He told Judas, what you are going to do it quickly. So I've used a religious perspective. When you come to, the Christian religion, when you come to the traditional folks, people go, they go and find out what they have forgotten. Remember, Plato says knowledge is recollection. So if I say every event must have a cause, depending on which rationalist I'm reading, they can account for it differently. That is not a concept. That's knowledge. But if you deal with it as a concept, you say the concept of causality. If you make it a proposition, it will be a statement, something propositional. It can be either true or false. God exists is a statement you are making. It's not just a concept. You are making a claim of knowledge, something that can be true or false. I say God exists, a proposition. If I say there is life after death, it's a proposition. When I say when everything that happens was caused, I'm stating a knowledge claim. I'm not just making a claim about the concept of God, the concept of causality, the concept of substance, the concept of the good. These can be called innate concept thesis. And someone may subscribe to the innate concept thesis without necessarily leading to an acknowledgement of what? Innate knowledge. Knowledge then is a claim. And so in that traditional setting, people come into this world knowing that they will give birth to plenty children, but they won't have money. That's what they know about themselves. So they say this one day. That's why I'm not worried. This is me. Some may have forgotten. They go, and then those who can see into the spirit, like some people go see prophet, can tell them that this is your shebre, this is your grabia, this is what you were assigned to be, your destiny, and so on and so forth. And so it is not just a concept, it's a corpus of knowledge, something that you know, claims of truth or falsity that you have about your world. Matthew, I hope that helps to clarify some of the confusion. Okay, so last week we went through all the main lines
Thank
of
you, madam.
innate knowledge. You are welcome, sir. And we saw how it is that it is part of our nature as rational beings. That means you have that knowledge. There's no sense asking, why do you have that knowledge or how did you come to know? It is part of what makes you rational, just like it is part of the being of a dog to bark. So if it is barking and it is a dog and you ask, hey, why do dogs bark? The answer is because they are dogs. And for them to be dogs means they have to bark. If you get that, you see analytic synthetic when you get to Kant, or we start reading Kant. I've told some of you, who to get whatever from the readings compiled for you. Okay, you can follow up over there. Oh dear. Others say it is part of our nature to now. We saw this. Okay, now so we can continue reading from here. How radical or how moderate you would think of innate knowledge thesis depends on certain factors. Anyone wants to read for us? Please raise your hand quickly. Quickly. Hey, quickly, Pam. Allowed someone's mic inadvertently. Okay, I think it's sorted now. Let's have Caleb read for us. Eli Klimak could be on standby. Caleb, go ahead.
Innate knowledge continue. How radical? The more subjects included within the range of the thesis, or the more controversial the claim to have knowledge in them, the more radical the form of rationalism.
Please continue.
How radical is also measured by how the rationalist understands warrant or justification.
Yeah.
That's one. Some take warranted beliefs to be beyond even the slightest doubt and claim that intuition and deduction provide beliefs of this high epistemic status. Two, some think of warrants in a more conservative way that intuition and deduction provide beliefs beyond reasonable doubt.
Why am I talking intuition deduction again? It should be innate knowledge, I think. I think it's a repetition. So it's the same line of reasoning, though, just as we had it for intuition deduction. We'll think of that view of rationalism as very radical when the person's posturing for those foundational truths is to say that they are, beyond any slight doubt. Like Descartes had for intuition deduction when he did, I think, therefore I am. The same way, if you think of such innate knowledge, innately known claims, and what we call innate knowledge, if you think of them as without any doubt, or that there is no way of doubting it at all, then we'll say you are extremely radical. Okay. If the issues that have been captured into innate knowledge, those claims are extremely controversial, then we would say that it is making your view radical. Sometimes controversial, yet you say that, oh, there could be doubts about it. In other words, you don't think of those views as beyond reasonable doubt, then it will not be as radical as the one who doesn't have many such controversial views. But the only one of them that he or she has, he insists that they are without any doubt. So it may be that you only believe that the knowledge of God is what we know prior to existence, just that one. But you think that that knowledge is without the slightest doubt. It could qualify as what? Radicalism or extremism, an extreme view of innateness. Now let's see innate concept. Let us have, thank you, sir. Let's have Timothy read if he's around. Oh, I told someone to be on standby. Hold on, please. It will be Elikpilim Agbaku, then now be on standby. Elikpilim, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Innate concept thesis.
Yeah.
Claims that we have some of the concepts, ideas we employ in a particular subject area as part of our rational nature. Some of our concepts, ideas are not gained from experience. Sense experiences may trigger a process by which they are brought to consciousness. Experiences does not provide the concept or determine the information they contain.
I think we've gone past that now, so I don't want to overemphasize. Last week during our class session, last Tuesday, I stressed on that. Senses or the experience plays a significant role. It's a role taken in what? In helping whatever the intellect mind acquire or pull out the knowledge. It says as a trigger. We went through it, just like the electricity switch, the switch in your room serves as a trigger to light. I want to take a little water. Serves as a trigger to light your lamp or something, or the light in your room. Chandeliers in your room will come on when you press the switch at the wall, but the switch is not the electricity. The switch is only the trigger, and so the senses have a role to play as well. You can't take that away. That's what Madam just read, except that it is telling you that these are concepts or ideas that are employed in particular subject area. So the idea of God when it comes to metaphysics, for example, or in mathematics, the idea of number or zero, empty set, all these are supposedly known a priori. But what was the kind of source for it? It is innate. So you know it prior to experience, no problem. But how did I know it prior to experience? That's what brings the difference between intuition, deduction, innate knowledge, and innate concept. So the innate folks, whether innate knowledge or innate concept, maintain that you already know either the knowledge proper or the idea proper. How you knew it what? As part of your rational nature. And we are discussing the concept now, innate concept. So we say you already have an idea of the concept of, say, God in metaphysics. I'm explaining the subject area for you, or say number in mathematics, or if you like, say causality, yet again in metaphysics, or good in ethics. So depending on the subject area, certain concepts we employ and use, which we consider as already known because it is part of our rational nature. Those are the examples I gave. They said some of our concepts are not gained from experience. Okay, they are already there. That's what I just said. And sense experience may trigger it. So sense experience, if you saw a beautiful person, a beautiful phone, a beautiful environment, you are able to call all these different, from phone to human being to an environment. You are able to describe these different particular instances, all of them as beautiful, says Plato, for instance, because these individual different things, particular things, are participating in the nature of what? Beauty, which is not physical. So beauty proper, the concept of beauty proper will be triggered when you see particular representations of what you would call beauty, from human person to phone to maybe car to your room. I have a beautiful room. I have a beautiful car. I have a beautiful environment. I have a beautiful atmosphere. She has a beautiful personality. Look at one word, beauty, applicable to several, because the original word, which is the reality, is not fixed. Okay, so when you are working with such concept, there again, you have to note that senses or experience could trigger it, but it doesn't serve as the source. Any questions? Okay, I still see Nan's hand, only to read, so we'll go on. My lady, please read what, excuse me, whoever is reading, please read what is on the screen.
Some suggest that innate knowledge thesis entails innate concept thesis. That
Very
is,
good.
a particular instance of knowledge can only be innate if the concepts that are contained in the known proposition are also innate. Others disagree.
Others disagree. Please, can someone explain this for me? Let's see if you understand. Anybody who wants to explain what is on the slide there, please keep the class active. I'll give you a class unannounced test right now. Ask your colleagues. Last Friday. It wasn't Friday. Was it Friday? Yeah. Maybe Tuesday or Friday. I could give an unannounced immediately. Last Thursday it was Rationalism and level 200 main campus. Go ahead, Elijah Chamba.
Madam, please get this in the audio. Sometimes, like 3 minutes or 5 minutes, I can listen to what you are saying. Even what the person is reading, I can listen to that. I
Please,
think.
what is on the screen? Can you explain that?
Okay. What I can see here is terms like innate concept means that what empty this place. What the innate knowledge, there are some ideas in it. That's the concept. Okay.
Okay, I missed portions of what you are saying. I'm not getting portions of it, and I think that was your complaint earlier. Not to worry, that's why we are recording so we can share. Okay, Elijah, thank you. Let me take now. But I think I got the beginning part of what you wanted. Is there the second part I couldn't get? Anyone wants to help us throw light on what is on the screen? We say that sometimes people who believe in innate concept presuppose that if you already believe in innate knowledge thesis, then you would already believe in innate concept thesis. The concept which Timothy made us go through moments ago are already presupposed by the knowledge proper. So some suggest, look on your screen, some suggest that if that innate knowledge thesis entails, that is, involves innate concept thesis, for you to know that God exists. There you go. For instance, you would have to accept that there is a concept called God. So God exists, or there is life after death, would be the knowledge, what you know. Knowledge is a claim that can be true or false. It's knowledge. So you claim that there is life after death, full stop. That's a claim, knowledge claim you are making. But that will be meaningful only when you assume that there is a concept called life, there is a concept called God, and this is what it stands for. Before you can connect the two and say there is life after death. Every event must have been caused. Then you will have to understand that the concept of causality must be clarified. So before you subscribe to the claim that I know something, or I subscribe to knowing something prior to my existence, that's innate knowledge thesis, which is rationalism orientation. Before I say that, I would already have to assume that the concepts being used in that knowledge claims are also accepted to be what? Known prior to. So people think that if I am a subscriber of innate knowledge, remember, knowledge is making use of concepts to create a holistic statement. So if I believe that people know something before they exist, knowledge, a statement, a proposition, then I would already know and accept that people have ideas of certain concepts before, possibly the concepts that have been used to create the knowledge. So one looks like a subset of the other. Which one would be the subset? The smaller set would be the innate concept thesis already inside the innate knowledge thesis. This is the point being made here. That in other words, if you're an innate knowledge thesist, you may likely be an innate concept thesis person too, because you may not have knowledge without the concept. But after all that I've gone roundabout to explain, others disagree. It's there on your screen. Others don't think that because I believe in innate knowledge thesis, it immediately suggests that then I must believe in innate concept thesis. No, not necessarily. Okay, some disagree. Any questions so far? I've asked you questions on all these. Yes, I've asked you questions. So bring me any questions you may have on it. Must I be an innate knowledge thesis person? If I am an innate concept thesis person, must I? The answer will be yes or no for you. Justify your answer with practical illustrations, not more than a certain number of words. You should be able to do that. Let's have another reader. Nadia, please read for me. Thank you, big boss. Now read your screen. Quickly, Pa, we are done with this slides. I'm just mopping up so that I'm sure I finished with the 3 theses. So now go ahead. Innate concept thesis, continue.
Innate concept thesis continued. The content and strength of the innate concept thesis varies with the concept claimed to be innate. The more a concept can hear. The more a
I
concept
can hear you.
seems
Why? We can hear you. Go
yes,
ahead.
please. The more a concept seems removed from experience and mental operations we can perform on experience, the more plausibly it may be claimed to be innate. Compare the experience of perfect triangles and planes in the referred text.
Very good. The text, which I think that some of you have to get now, because if not, you may struggle. Compare the experience of perfect triangles. Have we ever seen anything perfect? Physical. Let's use the shapes. A perfect shape. We assume it to be so. There's no perfect shape. Because as soon as you change your angle, remember Russell, what you are seeing is not the shape. It's just an assumption you have in mind. Perfect. This is Plato's argument. The perfect form of a triangle is not physical, because the physical always have a but or has relationality to it. Triangles and pain. Look at pain. We could all have been slapped at the same time, boom, or the earthquake that happened in Turkey. God forbid, we may all have been involved. But look at the level of the feeling of the pain, for example. Compare the experience of perfect triangles and pains in the referred text. Do we have the same conception of pain? If I'm comparing a perfect triangle, that is trying to use your 5 senses to experience a perfect triangle versus using my experience to determine whether the pain you are having is excruciating or it is mild. For one of the options, it will be easier than for the other if I'm depending on experience. The point being made is the more a concept seems removed from experience, if the thing is not something that we can easily experience, can easily use our 5 senses to ascertain truth or falsity, and you come and tell me that I know it already, it will be more plausible. It may be claimed to be what in it. The one that is, okay, let's read it again. See, the more a concept seems removed from experience, if the thing is not something that is experienceable easily, okay, and you can use mental operations to experience it, the more a concept seems removed from experience. I've quoted this in one of the exams. The things I'm going to ask, I don't think it's group work. I suspect it will be IE. The more a concept seems removed from experience and the mental operations we can perform on experience, the more plausibly it may be claimed to be innate. The reason why it will look okay to label certain concepts as innately known, innate just means inborn. We didn't do anything about it, we just know according to our rational nature. The more we can think of a certain concept as innate depends on whether it is very far away from experience, whether experience will struggle to give us that truth, whether it will be difficult for us to get to that knowledge via experience. If that will be difficult, then it will make sense to attribute that claim to what? Innateness. This is the point being made there. Okay, so the content and strength of the innate concept thesis varies with the concepts claimed to be innate. I mean, if I could use mathematical deductions to arrive at why root 2 is a perfect whatever, then if I can use my mental operations to arrive at that truth, it doesn't really become very plausible for me to attribute that claim to what? Innateness. Because after all, I could use my mental stimulation. If I thought about it Descartes to say clearly and distinctly, I'll be able to tell how it is that we come to know that concept. So it wouldn't be plausible to call such a concept innately known. I hope you get it now. What you can plausible means correctly. Use it that way. What you can correctly label as innate concept will be the type of concept that is far removed from experience, like the concept of God. Have you seen God brushing his teeth before? Is he male or female? Because he created both male and female in his image. Think about this sense reflectively. Who is his mother and his father? If he had them at all, must he be a being? Has he ever shaved his beard? Does he commune? If he's communing, does he have friends, family, siblings? These things are not experienceable. It's not something you can experience in the being that we attribute ultimate cause to. If you start doing that, people will tell you, I started in class last week, people will tell you, get mad, you that now. Don't think about those things. They are far removed from experience. Unlike if I had told you that it is raining cats and dogs in Iceland, some in uninhabited part of Iceland. No one may have inhabited there. Remember Russell, but it is within possible experience. We can conceptualize that. But there are other concepts. It's difficult to even use mental operations or physical experience to grasp them, like the existence of the uncreated creator. See the point? That's the point being made here. I can ask you this for a full essay. Use examples like the way I'm presenting it to make the point. So if you say there's an ultimate being that created the whole world and everything in it, that is the source of the ultimate design. Look at how butterflies are arranged. One day, let one rest on your, the back of your arm because of some nectar or sugar thing you put there. And look at the colors. Some have dot white, a little brown here, some purple, arranged. People, you can't joke from this argument from design, cosmological one, ontological argument, all show that there has to be an ultimate cause. But this ultimate cause cannot be experienced, not directly experienced. You can't even find equality. Okay, different. You can't do that. Nobody can see God. Can at least the Holy Bible tells you that no one can see him. No, except the one who came for this can, not has seen him. Yet, no one can see him. Immortal, invisible, only wise. Invisible. Reflect, let alone meditate and receive. So when you are Moses and you see the fire, you think that is God. It can be anything. Sometimes it's a still small voice. I said all of those in class. I think last week when I was elaborating to show you that what it is such concepts then which are far removed. Don't deceive yourself and think that, oh, my faith shows me how real God is. I tell you, it is because of the unfathomable nature and being of the concept, the idea we have of the being called God. That is what makes him God, even for people of faith like ourselves. You can't ever finish understanding him. If you do, he has left the scope of what the frame of being God to being like you and me. And that is why we ask questions like, what is his antecedent? Because you and I have antecedent, what we came out of. He doesn't have to. You hear it from Kant as I presented. I believe by the help of the Holy Spirit. You see what the person who thinks doesn't believe in faith is speaking something that is a matter of faith. Telling you that look, these concepts like the idea of this, the idea of that, are so far removed from our experiential world. I've gone ahead of myself, such that you cannot use mathematical calculation to arrive at what the concept may stand for. Look on your screen, mental operations. You can't do any reflection to grab everything in entirety about the concept or the idea of God as the ultimate cause, even if you are speaking philosophically. You see, you can't use mental operations and experienceable, frame, a frame of the experience where everything that happens must have been caused. The reason why the guy slapped you is because you insulted him. Or the reason why you greeted the landlady and she said, get away from me, is because perhaps she's not in a good mood. Something brought about something all the time. How about the concept of God? What brought about it? You see, that is far removed from experience. It leads us to infinity of problems. We can't ever use experience to grab it. Now, what is the point there? If we cannot do that, or we try to even use mental operations, put one and one together and deduce and calculate and see, it still doesn't help us arrive at that concept. Then when we relegate it to what? Innateness, and say that perhaps we have that idea because it was just put there. We can't use experience to grab it. We couldn't use our mental reflections or operations to grab it, like Descartes had done to arrive at the existence of his own existence, and then use mental reflection to get there. For the innate folks, they say this one is not something I use my mental operations to arrive at it. I just know it. If you did that and relegated it to innateness, then it will be more plausible. It will be what that this type is the one that you can defend, not the one that we are able to use mental faculty to interpret. Well done, Nancy. Perfect triangles and pains in the referred text. Okay. Oh dear. Almost done. I spent a lot of time here showing you that. Now, the indispensability of reason thesis. Let me see if there is a hand raised up. Good. Anyone reading that for us quickly? We have 2 slides on that one to go. Then I'll take your feedbacks. Thank you, Janet Mensah. Go ahead. Lady Jane, go ahead.
Okay, the thesis is not necessary to the rationalist thesis.
Could you kindly read the topic?
Sorry.
Kindly read the topic first.
The indispensability of reason thesis.
Yeah.
The indispensability of reason thesis. This thesis is not necessary to the rationalist thesis, but generally adopted by the rationalist. It claims that experience cannot provide what we gain from reason.
Very good.
The knowledge we gain in a specific area is by intuition and deduction, as well as the ideas and instances of knowledge is that are innate to us could not have been gained by asking strength experience.
Okay, so thank you very much. So here I take both the intuition, deduction, and also the innateness, whether innate knowledge or innate concept. So I've taken all the 3 versions of rationalism, all the 3 theses we've studied under rationalism, and I'm trying to sum them up to show how they relate to this thesis up there, the indispensability of reason thesis. Remember, we said this from day 1. This is the 5th week, but we haven't rushed at all. That the indispensability of reason thesis and another one, the superiority of reason thesis, we'll look at shortly, are just side plates for the main meal. Think of them as the additions. Okay, so the additions here could be you want to do jollof rice, like I said in class the last time. You want to get that, but when you go, they could put on some vegetables. They could put on some what's the other one? Sausages, or if you like chicken. If you go and that day they just gave you fish, but it is still jollof. You bought the main meal, which is jollof, but they put on fish. Another time they put on mushrooms, whatever it is. Another time they did veggies. These are additions that make it being, so to speak, but without it, the essence hasn't been lost. So the rationalist thesis can do without subscribing to what? Indispensability of reason thesis. It means this one is not necessary to what? The view of rationalism. What is necessary are the 3 that we have outlined, at least have one of them as your belief, your doctrine, your foundation, and it will constitute rationalism. It is enough. But if you have even one of them, that's intuition, deduction, or maybe innate knowledge or innate concept, and you add this one you see on your screen now as another belief, another doctrine you hold on to, it makes it an enriched, if you like, rationalism. But without it, it doesn't take anything away from the rationalist position. You have to be able to explain what I'm saying, because people would want to think of rationalism as meaning that you are saying experience cannot, look at the emphasis, cannot provide what we gain from reason. In other words, there is something that reason gives that experience cannot give. That's an extreme view. Remember the church thing I told you. It may turn out that whether Catholic or, I say it may, I'm not talking my faith. When I enter into my faith, I speak within a frame where we share common grounds, common assumptions. We hold on to common. There are people who don't speak in tongues, for example, and they don't think you have to. Some go to the Lord's Supper once a year. It is for a select few. I go to the Lord's Supper every week in my home, and church does it every month. When I'm sick, I take it, and I don't take it out of disrespect for it. I have understanding, and I do it. Some give yearly. I mean, manifest giving. Then there's a public display of it after fasting. Others give wholeheartedly, every minute, every hour, every second. They are giving their time, their energy, their money. Midnight, they are responding to messages as if someone will give them something. Nothing. It's just a sense of giving. So I'm saying that people have different understandings of what it is that defines their faith, even though they all belong together. Remember the Christian versus non-Christian example I used just to help your understanding. So we may all be in one set called carrying the label say Christian, but within it, so many variations, so many different emphasis, like I gave earlier. And that is what is happening here. I'm saying that so you do not need to say that experience cannot provide what we gain from reason before you can qualify to be a rationalist. No. You may even give experience to a lot of credit and say, well, these people who are non-rationalists, non-Christian, also do X, Y, or Z, which even we Christians support. They might even do it better. They might even pray more times. They might even give bigger. And might even look out for each other than Christian. But you will still subscribe to what? The rationalist view. See what I'm doing? So that experience may be able to provide what we gain from experience, from reason. Experience may be able to provide it, but you still think that the true source is what? A reason and not experience. It may provide it. So you don't have to necessarily say it cannot provide it before you qualify as a rationalist. This is the one who says that is the one who thinks of reason as what? Indispensable. And we are saying that you are not obliged to subscribe to that before you qualify as a rationalist. Because I can be rationalist. Think of it, I can be Christian and still believe that others are also going to God. They are just using another means. Ask some other faith. If you are, what's the name? Not an Adventist, Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, ask them. At least the few I've spoken with. That's why I like it when you engage people. Don't just make assumptions about people's faith. Listen to them. Ask the Hare Krishna. He believes that every scripture is holy. So he will go from the Holy Quran, will quote from the Holy Bible, will quote from their books, the Hindu and whatever books, including their own. I can't mention it, but I hear them say it. And he feels that they are all channels. Yet he will not join you in your Christian church, and he will not join your Islamic mosque. He will still go to his temple, but he believes that yours too. Okay, so if you think of it that way, then you can see why someone can be rationalist and still accept that, well, there are other channels and they all have sources and they're all giving some knowledge, but I want to choose this path. And I think that it doesn't have to mean that others cannot give that. That's the point, okay? So that's the indispensability of reason thesis that I use the faith issue to help you understand. I hope it helps. Is there any question, please? Okay. Sister, please read the next one. I think it's, I've forgotten who is reading. Forgive me. My mind is tired, Basa. So read the
Please, it's
superiority of
Janet.
reason. It's who? Who is reading?
Okay. Janet.
I want to, Janet, Janet Mensa. Go ahead, Janet. Thank you.
Please, I can see the next slide.
Oh, sir, I've projected the superiority of reason. Please, who can see?
Okay, the
You can see it now.
superiority of reason thesis. Yes. This thesis is not necessary to the rationalist thesis, but also generally adopted by the rationalist. It claims that reason is superior to experience as a source of knowledge. The knowledge we gain in subject area S by intuition and deduction, or have innately is superior to any knowledge gained by sense experience.
You remember what we said? This one too, I said it when I was under the tree there with City Campus, and then you went when I was in the class with you. Superiority, brother. Dear, slow down. Now I'm going to use a relation. Today's Val's Day. I forgot to give you happy Valentine. Someone said, don't add the time. Let it be happy Val. So that value added life. Oh. So happy value added life to you. And I said, Johnny Bravo, have it in mind that don't think it is because you are superior to the other brothers that came my life, came my way, right? Came my way. That's why I said yes to you. It's not a matter of superiority. Superior means you were better, you were higher, you had all it takes, and you were this. And no, sometimes not because of that. I took you perhaps because I can manage. Because I don't want someone who may be too high up there that when he gets up, he doesn't even remember me. Because he's so high, celebrity, or so rich, or so powerful that I can't even own him and tap his back or, rub him and we go and start the watch queue and buy away later. You can't do it. Because if he does that, it's against this. Some of that of my people, they are suffering, they don't say it. When they see you and your chachiko walking on the street, husband and wife, of course, holding hands and, rubbing, of course, decent, but, petting each other. They say, hey, how I wish I could do this. Your man is, the Lord says to tell you. How can you go and hit his back when you are buying and say, Betche me, Misha, come and catch me, I'm here. You can't do that. So the whole 30 years or so, you have to always live to please people. It can be very, very demeaning sometimes. People don't know. They think it's the clout and all. I'm telling you, people are suffering, and it's not bad suffering. It's suffering that you can't even, because some people want to taste that bottle that is sweating like that sitting there. But because of something, they can't. Roll back to superiority. So certain ladies may just say no to the first person, the second brother, the third brother, not because the fourth one that they said yes to is superior to them. No, it's not a matter of superiority necessarily. It might be that is what will work for me. The kind of work I'll do, I don't want too much stress. Maybe I'm a celebrity, I'll be singing public. I don't want any prophet of a husband or wife that I have to wear long skirts all the time. When I sing at evening event and I have to be in the mood, or I'm an athlete and I have to run and I can't wear cover and sleep to run. And pastor's wife will be showing, look at an athlete running. Tight, skimpy things. When you feel come and say, the Lord says to tell you, who is listening? Etc. I'm not saying it should be, but someone may look at all that and say, so I want someone that I can gel with. Now bring that idea to what is happening here. Rationalism need not necessarily claim that reason is superior to other sources of knowledge, whichever one it is. It doesn't have to be a need. People generally adopt that and say that reason is superior to the others, but it doesn't have to be so. You can say reason is the true source. It doesn't mean it is superior to the other person. Just like this one too, it doesn't mean the other one cannot do the same thing that this one is doing. It can. Maybe it can even do it better, but you would prefer this. And that is it. So use the Johnny Bravo thing. So Mr. Johnny Bravo, don't give yourself too much credit. Because if it's money, perhaps Ija Atalutu has better. If it is the looks, perhaps Ija Bentum has even better. But maybe sister is academic, or sister, which example can I give? Or sister is not properly educated, so doesn't want any brother who is too extremely educated, and then she will feel inferior around him and his colleagues when they come. So we will look for one that they all market, excuse me, some market women are well educated, but we all do the market. No, now she also feels like somebody. That is what is happening here. So do not go thinking now you are doing rationalism. You're not doing a generic understanding of the concept. You are going into the details of what rationalism is as much as we can cover. Okay. And so superiority of reason is not necessary to the thesis of rationalism. And on that note, we are done. These other ones are questions that I asked and then preparations that I say you should do. So in previous years. So you see that here there are points of emphasis, readings. In addition to the topics discussed here, I ask you to read the reference on the superiority of reason thesis and review, watch how Plato and Descartes account for this thesis. They make reason superior. It means that they are rationalists that would consider superiority of reason as part of their thesis for rationalism. But someone could be a rationalist and necessarily, I showed you the Christian thing, and not necessarily think that every Christian must speak in tongues, for example. Every Christian must hold the cross. Some don't even want you to do the cross. They think it is all idol worship. Someone could be Christian and not do anointing oil and laying on pants and this sacrificing of animals and what have you at church. They don't take their slippers and things into the auditorium. They will not put your corpse in the church. They don't go near them. People die today, they burn them. Some, and look at the variations. You see, but these two folks will say, if I'm rationalist, I must also consider reason as superior. So I wanted you to look into the text, their readings, and see how it is that they are seen to be radical or staunch rationalists. They stand out in several ways that you can clearly distinguish them, if you like, from non-rationalists. That is something I would expect you to look out for as you read. Second one on your screen is, do you see why most rationalists will have to be committed to a denial of skepticism of a kind? So you would see that you have to have a good knowledge of skepticism. That one, we introduce ourselves to it in level 100. I think we did a bit of it in level 200. It's not really complex to remember the 3 types of skepticism. What is the meaning of skepticism? Let me see if I can use something, because we can't keep doing everything in a lecture. Some of them I have to just throw light on. What does it mean to be skeptical? If I asked you to explain skepticism, what would you say? Friends, quickly, we have to go to your subject matter proper. I'll let you present your paper on it. I've tried not to stress you, but you can't see it. Otherwise, right after this, you go and do a paper. I'll open it today, Wednesday, it's due. Because you should know, you should know skepticism. Chamba, tell your people, Elijah. Otherwise, I'll call the fire from heaven.
Okay, madam.
And my lady, I always forget your name. If I look on my phone, I remember. My lady rep, talk to them quick.
Patience.
Patience, thank you, Apeshi. I go go ahead. Your hand is up. Explain skepticism.
Skepticism is to doubt the truth about something.
Okay, so when you are skeptical, what does it mean? When I say I'm skeptical,
it means you are doubting something.
You are doubting. Well done. I owe you 1 mark. If T.A. Mohammed is there, he will make a note of it. If not, remind me in class, because when I play back my videos, I remember oftentimes when I'm going to do my final mop-ups, I play back all the interactions to see if someone was naughty, then I subtract marks. And if the person was helpful to, then I give them marks. So I remember. But if T.A. Mohammed were here, they would have made a note of it. Doubtful, that's the word. So skepticism means doubt. Doubt. Okay, on your screen, I'm showing you something there that's built on what you have learned earlier in the course, philosophy, at your levels 100 and 200. This shouldn't be 2022. I didn't revise my slides. Okay, now watch. Do you see why most rationalists will have to be committed to a denial of a certain kind of skepticism? Being doubtful is not a problem. We all have a certain degree of skepticism. You should be making a note of that because I won't do a full lecture on that. It's just a revision I'm doing with you. So if you are there, then you can write your notes, some quick notes that you can always refer to. Listen, we all have a certain degree of doubt. That simply means before you sit on a chair, you will see that you hold it, especially those of us who are a little built, put on. I say those of us. Me, I'm not that put on like that. But if you are Oboshi, my fine sisters who have body, African body, before you sit, you want to be careful so that you don't go embarrass yourself at the funeral ground and roll over, boom, 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 you and your chest. No, 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 no. So you see that you hold the chair and check it a little, and then you sit. Someone gives you water. You look inside a little. You want to be sure. You bought the wachi, they wrapped it for you. You said put wele, egg, this. So sometimes when you buy it, especially those who are, they will open it and see inside. You want to go and buy fish, roasted fish at the market, the apuku or the adrian, the round one. You want to look inside. If it's not rotten, sometimes they've taken all the fish from inside and left the wrap, the skin, the dry skin around it. If you don't check, you come home and when you do your super whooping, there's no fish. Only half is left. The woman's children who sell with her have removed the inside and left the case. All these things you do to check is called common sense doubting. If you don't do it, cry, you have a problem. When you lock your door, but you shake it to see if it has locked well before you get out. My sister, I bought a new shoe for the wedding. You fit it and walk around it a little to see. Because you want to see, just in case after 2-3 steps, the heel won't come off. We have common sense doubt, which is necessary for human survival. You're going to bath, you've missed the warm water. You pour the kettle water into the bathtub. Will you jump inside? What if it was overheated? You will burn your skin. So before you do, you see that you flap a little, it's okay, it's fine. Then you enter. Even sometimes you start pouring the water from on your leg, and then if the water is very cold too, you don't want to catch, the cold immediately. So you start. All these instances I'm giving you to show that common sense skepticism is not in doubt at all. We all have it. If you're a rational human being, you work with what? Common, the one that is common to all of us, which we need to avoid dogmatism and was being susceptible to things and to deal with prejudice and all that. Okay, so that's the first kind of skepticism that we must be wary of as rational thinkers. Then we have a second level of skepticism. Remember, Madame says skepticism means doubting, doubt. So the first level of doubt is not evil. It is useful. We need it. Why is it that when the cassava boiled over, you just didn't lift it and go and pour and start pounding? What if you pour and not knowing it was olewa, cassava, banches, you would only know that the cassava is that type that has to boil over several. If after it boils a little, you uncover it and then, dip your hand in. This is a dip, or you actually stuck your hand in. You want to see if it is tender. You bake cake. If you are Professor, you do the baking of cake. Sometimes you push the pin in and bring it out to see if everything is cooked properly. These are all doubts that you are expressing, but for a good cause, which everyone, philosopher or non-philosopher, expresses. Now, the second level of doubting, which we philosophers, you and myself, are trained in, and is useful for us for asking deeper questions about the obvious. Take note. We use that level of doubting for a purpose. It is our tool. People don't know. You can't do philosophy and be so dogmatic. You don't ask questions. You are joining the crowd. If you are a true philosopher, as in a reflector, someone who reflects, someone who evaluates, examines, it will show. Sometimes you don't intend to do that, but it shows. You go into a function, the way the people are operating, you are not happy. Not because you think you know too much, no. And a true philosopher or a true thinker, take note, I like to call them critical thinkers, are calm. She can look at Socrates, look at Jesus, how he will ask a question, and the whole, grown-ups with their beards at 12 years old are knocking heads over the question the guy has asked. Because it is done calmly. If you know where you stand, you don't rush. The people are all loud all over. Gra. Empty barrels make the most noise. The seasoned sages, look at how they will even talk to you. Meba, tenase, my son, sit. And he will say only one thing. Look, children, talking to both husband and wife, the hen also knows when the sun rises, but it is the cock that crows. Go home. This is to a couple, they are pulling hairs. Grandpa didn't say, man, you are right. Woman, you are wrong. Or woman, you are right. Man, you are wrong. What he said, they both go home. The hen also knows when the sun rises, but it is the cock that crows. I was doing that with the critical thinking folks. This is not anything in favor of a woman or in favor of the man. Both people must go home and open the box. It is a big parcel that they have been given. Go home and think and reflect. Brother, your wife may have all the clout, all the exposure, but you must sit up and do what the man must do to keep the home running. Otherwise, the children will be wayward. Otherwise, you'll be overwhelmed. You have two men in the house, two captains. How would the ship move? So sit up. That could be what Grandpa said. Calmly like that, but very heavy. Or he may be telling sister, you have all the clout, all the exposure. You have all the connections, but I tell you, if you don't let the man do what he must do, you will suffer. Because it's not about that one. Calm down, let him sit at his place. One expression, heavily laden with what? So much wisdom, so much applicable truth that solves problem. Not the one that just gives retribution and is not corrective in nature. So what was I saying? Roll back quickly. I'm saying that skepticism, when we are doubtful philosophically, it is worthwhile. It is that kind of doubt, not the common sense one, which everyone does. The philosopher reflects and asks questions. If you doubt it, then you are questioning. You see that? You are questioning it. Why are you checking the cassava? The examples I gave. Why are you fitting the shoe to see? Why do you want to check the fish, the inside of it, etc.? Because you want to be sure. So you ask questions of it. You look into the water. This water, is it from the river or this? Is this standard? I want standard. The one I poured in a cup like that. All these things you are doing, you are not sure. How you are checking the common sense ones that we did. You ask questions of it. When it gets to philosophical skepticism, we ask deeper questions about the obvious. So you can see that the person has put his hand in someone's pocket and has pulled a gun, a phone. But when you come to our philosophical discussion and we are saying, how do you know? What if you are dreaming? Could it be that an evil demon deceived you? This is Descartes, you remember. When we are doing that, it is not because we don't live in a real world where we know that people will be arrested for stealing and we saw them stealing. It's only our eyes that will see. So why are we in the lecture hall saying that? What if it's a dream and all that? Are we outside of reality? No, we are asking a philosophical question because you are raising philosophical doubt to help us what? A safeguard. Because one day, when someone is caught red-handed, supposedly red-handed, like some people caught supposedly, Major Mahama blessed them, apologies to the family. They thought they had caught him red-handed. They stoned the guy to death. We saw the videos. To death. People. Whether the man has done something or not, he's dead. He's not even there to answer. Look at the kind of death. Will we do that to, excuse me, or even a chicken So when we were reflecting on Descartes' dream argument, those questions, remember he was doing a systematic doubting. It was a philosophical doubt. We know what is obvious. We know the obvious. That if you stand up at the exam or you stretch your neck and copy and say, hey, gentlemen, walk out. You have broken the law or the rules of exam, the regulations. Should the guy turn and tell me, what, madam, maybe you are dreaming, like Descartes said. In our actual world, no. You can't tell me I'm dreaming. But the reason why we ask such questions over there is for purposes like this. At the law court, where the evidence points to Nantechi, these are public conversations, so I want to reference them, that he's counting some money that supposedly is coming from some big man somewhere to bribe him. You see the videos. But the man says that is not what happened. The referee is putting a socks in money in his socks. So it means it was bribe. Can't I put my own money there? Women, don't you put your money sometimes in, especially the market room, in their brazier? Apologies, guys. Some put it there for security. That place, if you are going to touch, my attention will come there. So they put it there. So if you see me putting it there or in my socks, I'm a referee, I'll be running around. Which part of it then necessarily, take note, means I am corrupt? Now, when we are doing this interrogation, we are engaged in what? Philosophical doubting. Philosophical is euthanasia, right? Mercy killing. Should we kill in self-defense? You'll be doing some applied ethics if you go on to level 400. Jurisprudence, how do we determine what is just? You see, justice. Should we treat everyone equally? These examples I've given in critical thinking a lot this week. Equal treatment. We will do social and political philosophy. Really? Equal treatment. So when you came to the hospital with your pimple issue, because Johnny Bravo says you should take off the pimple, otherwise he will not love you. Today is Valentine. So the issue that took you to the hospital is a pimple that you want to take off your face. And you are in the queue, you got there first before the emergency case came in. Someone involved in an accident, their heart has come out. You say first come, first serve. So the sister whose heart is pumping, dropping out of her chest, that has been rushed in there for a surgery, should come and join the queue so that when you finish with your pimple issue, then they will attend to her. You are very important too, but what you came with is pimple. Sister, it can wait. Everybody, including the cleaner, will push you aside. You yourself, you will push the stretcher and take this person in. That is unequal treatment, yet a fair one. That reflection, when we are asking such questions, deeper questions, is what we call philosophical skepticism. We are skeptical about how we are doing things, the status quo. So we raise deeper questions. How should we distribute resources? Then people come and take it and get busy. How should we interrogate the relationship between mind and body and their interaction? Because sometimes you tell me something and it can dampen my mood the whole day. I can't even think well to do my mathematics. Yet someone else can tell me one thing and my confidence is so spot on as a lady or as a leader that I shine throughout the day. My father can tell me, you are my daughter. This one, it's in the blood. Just that statement. So you will get to whatever the quiz you are going to do, maybe science and math quiz or something, national science and math quiz. You will shine like something. Don't fear anybody there. Which school? They are all learning the same thing. Go and shine. I'm at home. Come home. When we come, we are celebrating. That's psyching the child up. A coach can speak to. We did all this in mind-body problem. So when we're raising those philosophical questions, just to show you what philosophical skepticism. What is that one? Where we raise deeper questions. Questions come when there are doubts. So we ask questions that are about what? The status quo, the obvious, the things we take for granted. So we all see someone jumping the wall. That's why we are shouting thief, thief, thief. But when I say, what if he's not the thief? He's rather the one coming in to come and tell us about the terrorists that are coming there. When I say what if, and I start asking these questions, I am doing philosophical skepticism. And it is not everyone that has that skill. Like the common sense one that we all apply. Very good. To have moved from socio-political philosophy to economics to psychology as a result of the questions that philosophers ask, to show you some of it, to the law court. Like euthanasia is medicine, mercy killing. A person has become a vegetable. And we are just fighting to look for money to keep him or her on the machine for years. Does this happen in the law, in medicine like that? For years, I don't know. So sometimes we get worked up. And if you look at the way the person has become distraught, lying there, you feel that, let's help her. You have mercy on her so much so that you take off the plug for her to die peacefully. Now, if we are discussing that, like informed consent, we did some time back, the person doesn't want to take the blood. The deeper questions we ask there is as a result of philosophical skepticism, which will help us bring more light to the supposed obvious truths that we have. That is the purpose of that kind of skepticism. It is not for everybody. The philosopher, the thinker, the critical thinker, the one that reflects, the one that is asking pertinent questions that will free us from dogma, fundamental claims that are unexamined, evaluate, and help us oftentimes do what? Improve our social structures, our assumptions that we hold. Okay. Then it will take us to a third type of skepticism that we are all afraid of. Afraid of meaning that it cannot be sustained. We can't have that kind of skepticism. It's not defensible. What's the name of that? So we have done common sense skepticism, we have done philosophical skepticism, and I'm just stopping out. I'm topping up with the one that we call absolute skepticism. Write it down. Absolute. Absolute skepticism or absolute doubt just means you make a claim that says something like this: you cannot know anything. In other words, you don't think there is any need trying to establish any truth about anything because knowledge is not possible. You see that the philosophical skeptic believes that we can know something. He just wants to be certain about it, like Descartes. He's just trying to establish a certain degree of what? Defense for what can be known. That's what the philosopher is doing. How certain are we that Sexy Dondon, the gentleman that has been accused of or allegedly spearheading or killing the MP years back, who is still in the custody of police? If we were certain, why has he not been sentenced? We are still supposedly investigating. So that is philosophical skepticism, allowing its full course, because sometimes people may also be wrongly accused, or in your bid to be fast about it, you will cover up so many traces that we need to use to stop other such death. Okay, so I'm saying that philosophical skepticism is only looking for a certain degree of certainty, or if you like, a certain degree of what surety about matters, claims, knowledge. In epistemology, for example, okay, is there life after death? I ask that. I'm asking a philosophical question because it could be that there isn't. I'm not talking faith now. But there's good reason, even when you are asking philosophically whether there's life, there's good reason to believe that there has to be life after death. Why? Because there has to be life before existence. What did we come from? From nothing? Everything that happens may have to come from something. So when we are reflecting like that, we are trying to think deeply about those questions. Okay, and they have implications on everyday life. Now, my point then is, what about the absolute skeptic's own? He says knowledge is not possible. That's why it is captured this way. We cannot know anything, Not that we do not know everything. That is not the absolute skeptic's view. He didn't say we do not know everything. That's true. What? What do you know? It's not everything you know. When were you born? There are things that are going to happen you won't know. So it's not anything, it's not everything you know. So that's not the position of the absolute skeptic. That couldn't create a problem. There's a problematic view called absolute skepticism, which is what? They claim that we cannot know any. If you say we cannot know everything, it is still safe. That is not the absolute skeptic's view. if you said we cannot know everything. That is true. You can't know everything. But that is not what they say still. What they are saying is we cannot know any. Yentumi nim bibiara. Wonyenni wole noko. Yentum nim bibiara. We cannot know anything. If you want to render it as absolute skeptics view, that is what we think is. Oh, that's problematic. Not only is this extreme, but take note, it is self-contradictory. It contradicts itself. The very claim, it is like asking the people at the back in class there, can you hear me, please? Then those people at the back say, no, dog. Then as soon as I hear that, I continue teaching. Because claiming no, dog, in response to me, the same people who say they can't hear are responding to me, is already a sign that they can hear. Because if they couldn't hear, then they shouldn't respond. That is the signal. My father used to tell us some Kukwanansi story that I can say in 2 seconds. He says Kukwanansi was so wise that sometimes he wants to trick people and exploit them and take in some donations at funerals. So he pretended to be dead and told his family people that way people will come and say, oh, sorry, when they will bring donations so that they will get money to enjoy Kukwanansi. So Adanko, the wise, Adanko is the rabbit, right? Yeah. Or the hare. I think it's the rabbit. Saw that this Kukwanansi, I don't trust him that he's truly dead. So he came to stand in the window and looked left and said, Kukwanansi that has died like this is so painful. I want to believe that he's not dead. And he's doing that with his friends that he had told that they suspect Kukwanansi is lying. After he had exploited people and taken a lot of donations in the name of burial. Then one said, he's not dead. Then he said, as if he's whispering to his friend, but Kukwanansi, if he's truly dead, he would have raised his leg. When he dies, his leg goes up. This one is not dead. That's why he hasn't raised his leg. And Kukwanansi, supposedly wise, heard them whispering and thought that he had to convince them that he's really dead. So he raised his leg. Then the people, the other animals saw that. You see, have you seen a dead person raising the leg? The guy is lying and they pounced on him and then he woke up and ran into the corner of the room. I'm sure this was made up by my father or someone knows about it. The point then is, if you were really dead, you would have raised your leg. Kukwanansi thought, I have to convince them that I'm really dead. Raised his leg and they saw that if you were dead, how will you move? They have tricked him into exposing himself. That is what is happening to the absolute skeptic. I've given you 3 examples. Shouting in class, like you are teaching and you ask, those at the back, can you hear? And they say, no, dog. That already means they can hear. If you say we cannot know anything, that is already a claim of knowledge you made. People, we cannot know anything. In other words, knowledge is impossible. You just said that we know that it is not possible to know. That one, you know. So you have just given us an example of knowledge. By the very claim you made, you are trying to deny the possibility of knowledge. That simply means we know that we cannot know anything. That one party we know. Is that not an example of knowledge then? It is. So not only is the claim of the absolute skeptic extreme, it is self-contradictory, or if you like, self-refuting. It shoots itself in the foot. What does that mean? If you claim that we cannot know anything at all, that is itself a claim of knowledge. You have just given an instance of knowledge that says we know that we cannot know anything. And that is exactly the reason why absolute skepticism is not acceptable. You see the name Pyrrho, or some say Pyro, associated with this view. People who thought that knowledge is impossible and therefore we shouldn't even try to find what it is, how we come to know, and how we justify it. But as soon as we are able to show that that is inconsistent or the self-refuting, then it makes it possible to aspire or to pursue what epistemology, the study of knowledge. Okay, and so it is better to hold on to, if you like, a philosophical view of matters, where you make certain assumptions and then try to find responses to the deeper questions that those assumptions bring. And then those who are not as philosophical and deep in their reflections can still make do with what? Common sense, skepticism, or common sense knowledge. Now, if you got this relatively cute and rounded presentation, then look at the second question down there on the screen. Do you see why most rationalists will have to be committed to a denial of skepticism of a kind? The question simply means you realize that if all what we have learned about the rationalist thesis are true, then if you are a rationalist, it will suggest that you will have to be committed. It means you will have to agree to deny. Deny means you have to say that it is not true that skepticism. You see that? So skepticism of a certain kind is not true. Think about it. If you are a rationalist, you would definitely accept that we can know. So you won't support a certain kind of position that says we cannot know anything. And I think that by now, if you are following, you know what I mean. If I asked you to use the rationalist thesis or show why a rationalist would have to be committed to a denial of at least one kind of skepticism and why in 3 lines. I've not asked you anything. I've just showed you to use the rationalist view to do what? To critique absolute skepticism. That's all. Because the rationalist believes that we can know certain truth, some even innately. We didn't do anything, it's just there. We know. So if that is possible, then knowledge is possible. And not just knowledge, a priori knowledge that doesn't depend on experience. Not just a priori knowledge, but unmediated knowledge by intuition or by deduction or by innateness, whether innate knowledge or innate concept. If so, the knowledge is possible. We can know something. And in fact, not just that, even the philosophical questions that we ask, the deeper level, some of its questions you can answer because the thing is just there, you know it. So you don't even have to go deeper. Which deeper are you going to? You already have it there as part of your rational nature, for example, and so on and so forth. Any questions before I do the second half at the right side there? Okay, I know that you'll be quiet. Semidi, I like that. I know how to get you. There's a question. Okay, I saw a hand up. Let me take it. Chamba, is there a question? Go ahead.
No, some people cannot rejoin again. They are complaining.
Some people cannot what?
Rejoin again. They said they are not.
They can't rejoin what? They should copy the thing and paste into a browser. Now this is level 300. Tell them to copy and paste into a browser and enter. They will come. I've not restricted anything. Okay. They shouldn't do app thing. They should copy the link, paste into a browser, and hit enter as if they are searching for something on Google or whatever. It gives them direct access, not something that they have to sign in. They have not restricted anyone. Okay. Everyone is allowed in. That's how I've set the permissions. Okay. So there is no restriction whatsoever. Okay, let's continue. So the second side, the right side of it on our screen, you will see, where is my screen? Yeah, you will see, do you see why rationalism in the form of the intuition deduction thesis is also committed to epistemic foundationalism? Big word, nothing much. Remember how we described Descartes as what? A foundationalist. What makes Descartes a foundationalist? We have revised that in class. We did that as part of our marathons in, I think, the week 1 and 2 or so. I want to ask you again, why would you describe Descartes, for example, as a foundationalist? Anybody? Oh, you people are not making me enjoy my class. I'm just controlling myself so that I don't get angry. Francis, IET, very good. Francis, go ahead. Please, you are muted, Francis.
Okay, yes, please. Okay. Okay, so for Descartes, he was looking for a certain truth, which he said, give me a truth on which I could build a whole philosophy. So that search for a foundation on which he could build a whole truth, or to find out about more truth about his existence, have become the foundation on which he have built. So we can refer to that as a epistemic foundationalism.
Excellent. Excellent. Well done. Some would also call it the geometric method, like the way, and I like to teach students that way, like the way if you are drawing a circle, you just use your compass. Remember the little technical drawing you did. You measure your maybe 5 centimeters radius. You keep the point of the compass fixed, and then you turn your pencil around to draw that circle. And insofar as the fixed point is stable, the distance from the center to every part of that circumference you have created will be the same. It will be 5 centimeters throughout. Insofar as you have a fixed foundation, an Archimedes point around which you are revolving in your epistemology, you always come back to what? That fixed point. Think of the chicken that you have tied in local homes, not the designer homes, local homes, and you are waiting for Easter to crucify that chicken. When you put the is it a cord or thread around its leg and tie it around the tree there, you want it to move around so that it doesn't die. You feed it and all, but it can move only within the radius of that. I'm sure someone is, hey, mommy, is she a local woman or international? Me, I'm all. The chicken can only move to the extent that you have given it that thread around its leg. Spiritually, some people are like that. You can't go beyond a certain limit. I break every limitation over your life. In the name of Jesus. People say amen wherever they are. Okay. So you stretch her. When you go, it is just to this limit. You can't go beyond that. Now I'm saying that, think about all that, and you will understand Cartesian view described as what, or Cartesian philosophy described as what? Foundationalist. I don't know if you do it in when you advance, maybe in modern analytic or something, or natural philosophy of the natural sciences, you may do coherentism versus foundationalism. Others who think that knowledge has to cohere. In other words, it should coexist. So if there's consistency in the system of knowledge, then it is okay. Others think no, the foundation has to be right. If the foundation is okay, then you build all the knowledge on it, then it's fine. So you will meet this again somewhat in one of your discussions in the course in an advanced level. I think it will be methodology of the natural sciences or methodology of the sciences. Whichever way you see it, you see foundationalism again. If you hear it, it's just what your friend brilliantly presented, nothing more to add. So Descartes was looking for a foundation on which to build his epistemology. And if it is the foundation and you have any slim idea about how to build, you know how much goes into the foundation. See what is happening with the chapel, the cathedral that Ghana wants to build. The foundation, and you have to dig it deep, 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 people, and make sure the concrete, and then because that is the strength of the building. Sometimes what goes into the foundation is even more expensive than the edifice you see standing on it. Because a strong foundation will keep the building intact. And that is what, if a faith person, the Almighty God used the blood of the Lamb to found the earth. So before the foundations, the lamb was slain. He used that to do the pacification. The mamre, it slayed the lamb, poured the blood there before he founded the earth. People don't know. So that whatever is built on it will stand. So if there is no other foundation than the one that was laid, if you're a church person, you see what I'm referencing. There is only one that has been laid. The rest is all the mugu jumping around that we are doing. That means if you don't speak, I try to translate. Okay, I want it to be alive for people, what we are presenting. Okay, when the fetishism in the dance finishes, then the rest is just going in circles. You see the person jumping, the fetish is gone. The spirit that came has left. The rest is just jumping around. literally meaning that when the essence of it is lost, the rest are all particulars. There is no essence. Now roll back. Foundations are important. And so look at what the question I put on your screen. We are doing rationalism. We are not just doing abstract philosophy. I told you from level 100, if you do philosophy that way, it will be useless. Says immediately. Philosophy is reflection on concept, ideas, critical analysis, examination, evaluation, critiquing of assumptions, what have you, so that it can deal with everyday problems. So I don't teach philosophy to let you just have ideas. They are hanging in the air. You are proud that you know. But it's practical use. So you see, we are doing rationalism, but we have gone to church, we have gone to the law court, we have gone to culture. We will keep moving around that, because after the philosophy, this is where you go and apply those useful content you have engaged. So what? So rationalism in the form of, look on your screen now, please, respectfully, the form of intuition deduction. This particular one will have to be committed to what? Epistemic foundationalism. Epistemic from the word knowledge. So when it comes to knowing, the intuition deduction folks will have to accept or hold on to the view that there is a certain foundation, knowledge claim, certainty of a kind, if you like, or a certain level of a certain knowledge that is assumed. I don't want to necessarily say certainty, because Descartes that pursued certainty. Others may be foundationalists, but they are a bit more moderate. They don't think that that intuited truth must necessarily be certain, okay? But they may want it to be the basis on which you have derived others, like what you do in deductive logic, axiomatization. So you have an axiom, you are given P, then they say, okay, derive R from P. How can you do it? You may start by adding disjunction R, so that by addition, you do this, and then maybe you, by material implication, you change the disjunction to a conditional, and then based on that, you can arrive at R. You know, the axiom, the starting point, would serve as a foundation, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a certainty. It can be what you have assumed to help you just derive. So because of all what I've said, I'm saying that that foundation may not necessarily have to be a certainty, but Descartes' own, he insisted that the foundation must be certain, so that whatever you derive from the others will have what? That level of what? Confidence based on what? Validity. If you got that, then you explain what you will be able to explain what I've put there. To what extent should an intuition deduction thesis subscriber, someone who subscribes to this thesis, be committed? To what extent? To what extent means up to what level, to what degree, how much of a commitment should someone who holds on to the intuition deduction thesis be committed to what? Epistemic foundationalism. He may have to be, think around it, because it is from what you have intuited that you are deriving or deducing the others. And so there has to be one serving as the basis on which another is built. If so, the epistemic foundationalism may have to be associated with intuition deduction. Your group work I have already taken. Any question? Sorry, any question? All right, well done. Since we have some 10 minutes or so left, let me see what you did. The way you have remained quiet, I'll change my thing. If you joke, we are going back to the classroom physical. Because how it is now, I hope it will change. But if it's like that, I don't think I'll be able to endure it like that. I may be angry. I don't want to get angry. Today is Val's Day, so I've tried not to be angry. Your point of crying. So then we'll go back to the physical lecture, and I'll tell you, take sheet of paper. Yeah, I can do it, but I think I'll stress you. I don't want to stress you, with internet and having to jump around on Val's Day. Somebody's cake is waiting to be cut. Somebody's teddy bear is sitting there. Someone's that upper prime sign, or I don't want to bore you or spoil your positively romantic evening. On my screen now, you see your course site. I'm showing you. So let's look at the questions I asked you. Two of them, I think they were they at assignment 2? Forgotten a little higher. we're at assignment 2. So let's read the question. Now take 1 or 2 feedbacks. I'll reward that and I'll call a group to answer. So please be on standby. The first question, let's have someone read it quickly, but we have just a few minutes left. But it has been fruitful. I think I've given away 2 or 3 of the questions I had put down. It's okay. Now, please read for me. Thank you.
Question for groups 1 to 15.
Excellent.
Research, discuss, and put together a paper on the philosophical problem of knowledge. What philosophical problem of knowledge, what it is, its sources, and its justification. Your analysis should show why discussing the problem of knowledge is vital for everyday life and why it should be given due attention. Use practical illustrations throughout to make your points clearer. Finally, you should show whether and how the rationalist thesis stated so far are useful in dealing with your identified problems. Your response should be between 800 and 1,000 words.
Well done. Hey, this I read the second one too because some people didn't even read all the questions, I'm sure. So you read the
Questions
second
for
one.
group 6. Questions for group 16 to 30.
Yes,
Research, discuss and put together a paper that philosophically discusses the terms rationality, non-rationality, the irrationality versus rationalism as an epistemological position. Your analysis should show why a philosophical discussion and clarification of these concepts is vital for everyday life and why it should be given due attention. Use practical illustrations throughout to make your points clearer. Finally, show whether and how the rationalist thesis stated so far may also have expression in African conceptions. Your response should be between 800 and 1,000 words.
well done. Thank you, Na. Can I have reactions?
Welcome.
That's why a lot of you went for groups 1 to 15. Per questions, group 16 to 30 would have been easier if you just did a little reading. Anyway, let me anyone wants to react to any of the 2, I am rewarding marks. I'm giving marks for that. I don't want to put anyone on the spot. Group 2 members, answer my question. Okay, Tyra, go ahead. Tyra, go ahead quickly, but we don't have much time left, so let's finish. Oh, Tara, you are muted. Good afternoon, my lady. Go ahead.
Did I like to say that about the question 1? It is trying to say we solving issues about rationalism or knowledge here and using practical examples. So I would say that for the empiricists, they believe we gain knowledge through our experiences, while the rationalists believe that the ultimate source of knowledge is through reasoning. Yes. So
yeah.
In answering question 1, I would like to use the example of Maxwell Mahama. Yes. He praised his untimely death, and then because of the people's ignorance, they just seeing him with a gun and concluding he might be a thief or someone who is willing to hurt them. They just lynched him to death. Yes. But then I would say that this instance can be solved with the intuition deduction thesis. Supposing if the people of Dentra or Boase or whatever were able to sit down quietly or at least engage him in a conversation for him to say part of his story, like he wouldn't have been dead by now. Yes, so
even if he were guilty. Okay, that's the point.
Yes,
because it is possible that he could have been guilty. And we are speaking philosophy now, so no evil intended, but he could have been guilty. I'm telling you, of whatever the people accuse him of. But recompense, who determines how much the punishment should be, just in case he was even guilty. That's why even when we caught an armed robber, remember our determinism, free realism discussion, even when we caught the person in the act, are we interested in retribution, or we are perhaps interested in correction? If it is a bad upbringing, or the neighborhood or the social systems are not good, whilst we punish to pay back, quote and unquote, we also have to be interested in the correction. Otherwise, we'll come out worse off. You see that? So just to add to Madam, because you are presenting a very good content, and I suppose you are speaking extemporaneously, you are just making point, and that's very good. See that I took the thing out of your mouth. The paper, that question is asking you to give what knowledge is. Thank you very much, Tyra. What it is first. So you have to make a statement of that. The groups that answered that question, you have to tell us how we source it. And she already presumed that. So if she had time and she was writing, you see that she talk about that. The source, how you justify it traditionally in philosophy. Then we ask you to go further to show why. Why? So the emphasis is at the encouraging. Why should we be so busy as philosophers engaging the problem of knowledge? And is it as vital as we think of it for everyday life? Don't go into the world of forms for this one. Come to everyday life. And so Madame just gave a practical instance. And you see that when I was teaching, I was going from this place to the other, from referee socks to Nyante Chimata to, a journalist that has been said to have done so and so, to Sexy Don Don, the gentleman that said, I'm giving, because these are real life, everyday situations, euthanasia and what have you. Why should we give attention to this question of knowing knowledge, how it is known, how we justify it? Then I went further to ask you, use practical illustrations throughout to make your point. Now we are not done. Finally, I said, show whether and how the rationalist thesis studied so far will be useful when dealing with. So some of the times you would have to just deduce, deduction from what has been said. When you deduce without even observation, you can tell that what the sister is saying cannot be true. What did she say? That the sisters wearing suits at the back of the church there are totally naked. Sisters know what you want. It's not good at all. Is that how you do things in this your church? What's the problem? The ladies at the back there, what have they done? They are totally naked. By deduction, which is one of the tools that rationalists use. Madam Tara, who spoke, reference what? Intuition deduction. By that principle, you are able to tell without being there. I was never in that building. However, when I was there and they brought the laptop, maybe I didn't touch it. Hey, Brian, were you there or you were not there? You say you were not there. However, when you were there, they brought you tea, but they didn't add biscuits. You have come to sit here to bring the whole Ghana. You see how people can deduce it is a rationalist tool. One of the tools or one of the theses. Madam referenced that if they had just engaged. So when you catch a thief, the rationalist thesis we are studying, one is admonishing you. You can't immediately, no matter what the evidence is available to you, you can't do that. Not because you may not be right, you may be right, but we are looking at a holistic matter, reflection, examination, what have you, which are not necessarily given to us by sensation. So we need to take the matter to a neutral place where the people are not directly affected, and so can be relatively more objective than you, the one whose son you saw stoned like this, or whose brother, or whose benefactor it was that was stoned like that. When they ask you to tell how you should pay him back, you will say, cut off his head, put it on a plate for me. Let me chew, then I'll be at peace. But maybe if we went to an objective place, take note, our time is up, then we would have been able to deal with the issue in a way that pays the person back, at least to a certain degree. Or we are able to open up the matter as well, to know that Asumwa is not his fault, etc., etc. That is how relevant the questions we are asking in class, the innate knowledge, innate concept, you have come to school to pay fees. That is what it is for. It's not just knowing, chewing poem, passing, and forgetting. Thank you very much, Tyra. That was a very good effort. I owe you 3 marks, and I put it on record. You have to keep me reminded. I'll put all the marks people are earning together and strike the total we are looking for. Yes, for the files. So people sometimes say, hey, not 3, 5, 7, well, how many marks? No, you don't know. I put all together, plus whatever you earn, and then do a 50% of it. So if you are accumulating so many marks, it will show. If you come and we'll hear some, over to you, Joe Latte. Since the time is up, people have to go. I'll keep it on record. But those who can stay, can I have someone react to the second question, which was read nicely by Now. Now you get a 1 mark, I already told you. Someone react. Rationality, non-rationality, irrationality. There was a paper there you could have read around. Tell me, what do you want to say to that? Chamba, someone else? Thank you, Tyra. Is it Chamba alone that is here? Can I have someone else react quickly? Quick. You.
Madam, please.
Who is talking?
On an example.
Chamba, okay, go ahead. My class rep.
About the innate concept. Like, I don't want to, but true that God exists. So I have a concept in me that God exists. That is a concept.
Chamba, please, are you reacting to group question 16 to 30? The one for question 16 to 30? Or you're asking me a question?
No. Question 1.
Oh, question 1 is well done. Don't worry. Question 1, I think that is Tara set it off very well, and she was on the right path, so I could build on it and fill it in nicely for us. I want a reaction for the question 2 too, just for those who may have answered that. Then you will know that you can be asked such a question in the exam, something around that. Okay, so let's take someone. I want a reaction. Someone just take it off, then I'll pick it from there and build. If you don't see anything, I'll react to it, and I'll bring that question in the exam. Okay, thank you, Elijah. Elijah, next time move to a very comfortable place, okay? It will help you. Anybody, no one is reacting to that, or you don't know what to say. No group answered that question. Even if no group answered, you attempted. Hey, my people. Okay, then let's end there. I wanted to do some work on it for you. Rationality, non-rational, irrational. Then all of those concepts compared to rationalism as a technical term in epistemology. If you were asked to do a distinction of it, how would you do it? Right. Thank you very much then. Have a wonderful week. Look out for the next assessment as our course outline scheduling tells you. And then hopefully do well. When we meet next week, we'll continue with Plato's rationalism. We'll take the text for Plato. So you should read around that. I told your TA to assist you, those who may want to get the reading or whatever. Okay, Plato's rationalism. Then after that, we'll do Descartes' rationalism. Plato's rationalism, I'm hoping we are able to do it in a session. If not, and we have to go into the next, it will be fine. But if you have read that before we meet, then it will be easier. Any questions, please? All right. Thank you very much. All the best and take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Okay, Doc.